Hello everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I actually remembered to bring my bass clarinet this week, which that was a special request from last week. So let's give a few shout outs to our early arrivers. We have Mike, who's back here again. Hi Mike, and hi Sydney, and hi Rolando. Rolando, I don't know if I've seen you in our stream before, but thank you for being here. JM is here. The Pimple Freak is here. A lot of people tuning in. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hello. Hi, Caleb. Thank you for joining us. Tofili. Hello. Alan. Sunbeam. Christopher. Lucky Miner. There's a familiar name. So, hi everybody, thanks for joining in. I'm going to jump in and ask a few questions that I've seen come up already. If you've never been on my live stream before, we talk about band questions that you guys might have about playing instruments. You know, one just popped up from Valerie, and I'm going to get to some of the other questions that came earlier. But Valerie just asked, how do you play an E sharp on the bass clarinet? So, does anyone know what the other name for D sharp is? Oh, E sharp, I'm sorry. I think you said E sharp. So, E sharp is kind of a funny note. Yeah, and La Nota got the right answer. So, E sharp is actually an F. So, depending on where the F is, the E sharp is, if it's in the staff, the F would be here. Or if it's a low F, it would be all the way down here. So here is our F in the first bass. That's just the thumb. And here's the low F all the way down here. It's pretty low. So that's a low F, or otherwise known as low E sharp. So we had an early question from Mike in Scotland. So one of the questions you asked, Mike, was about how to clean and wash your mouthpiece. So guys, if you play clarinet or saxophone, any kind of saxophone, any kind of clarinet, we want to clean our mouthpiece regularly. And what you want to do is you take your mouthpiece and you use warm water and just like dish soap. What you don't want to use is don't use like super hot or boiling water, because that will actually damage the finish on your mouthpiece. So just use warm water and dish soap. So that was a question, how to wash a clarinet mouthpiece. Let's see, some more questions coming through. Oh, so Tofili, I hope I'm saying your name right. How to play the full chromatic scale on the bass clarinet. So, okay, Tofili Young asked how to play the chromatic scale on bass clarinet. What I'll do is I will do a 1 octave chromatic scale. I'll start on the low G. Oh, good, Tofili, I said your name right. So, I'm going to start down in here with low G. I'm going to go G, G sharp, A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp, G. I'm going to do that right now. Oh. So that was a 1 octave chromatic scale, going from low G to the upper G. Okay. Dennis. Oh, you know, we haven't said hello to Dennis yet. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, how you doing, Steve? Hey, guys.
So Dennis is here helping me. Dennis will highlight your questions, so you don't have to write your questions many times. Just put in your question, and Dennis will keep an eye out for questions that I miss. One of them is from Animation Master. How do you hold a long note on the flute? And I get this question a lot. So those of you that have been watching my channel probably could answer this. The answer for a long note on the flute is what a lot of young players do is they waste a lot of air because your air hole is too big when you blow. So when you blow on your flute, don't go, keep your lips together and make a tiny little stream of air starting with the sound of the letter P. And if you aim that just right, you won't run out of air. You can hold a note for a long time. And you might hear a young flute player playing like this, wasting a lot of air. Lips together, like a little leak of air coming out. Okay, so there's our flute question. All right. The difference, all right, Dennis checked in with another question. Sunbeam56 wants to know, what's the difference between a B-flat clarinet embouchure and a bass clarinet embouchure? Here is a regular B-flat soprano clarinet. And the answer is the difference in the embouchure is not really much at all. You should pretty much use the same embouchure. What I find, so the embouchure for clarinet, smooth bottom lip, across your teeth, firm corners, top teeth, bottom lip. You might need to be a little bit more opening of your mouth for the bass clarinet because the mouthpiece is bigger. And I find going from regular clarinet to bass clarinet, I have to really think about my voicing, which is the shape of the inside of my mouth, how my tongue is shaped. Especially when I'm going up into the higher notes on the bass clarinet, I really need to think about the shaping of my tongue to help me get those high notes because they're a little bit challenging on the bass clarinet. But basically the embouchure is the same. I saw another question come through from Frozen Art. What are the gloves for the flute? Okay, so gloves that come with instruments. You sometimes find when you buy, and it's usually the instruments that you buy, if you buy them online, you will find instruments that come advertised that they come with white gloves. So the white gloves really, I would not use. I don't know why they do that, honestly. I would not recommend wearing white gloves when you play your instrument. To me, that seems more of an advertising gimmick. So I wouldn't bother with the white gloves at all. So there's the answer to that question. Sometimes in marching band, they have you wear gloves, but that's a uniform thing. Normal, just playing your instrument, nobody wears gloves when they play. Okay. Let's see. Dennis is doing a great job of giving me new questions here. Let's see. Another question from Tofili. I'll take this one. What is the octave difference between a B-flat, a regular clarinet, and this clarinet? It's exactly 1 octave. So if you play an open G on the bass clarinet, it's an octave lower. 1 octave lower. Okay, I see a quick question here from Brian. Brian Carvajal. I hope I'm saying your name right. Yes, my 2 favorite. Brian wanted to know what is a good tuner app. My 2 favorite tuner apps are, one is called Bandmate Chromatic Tuner. I use that one a lot. It's free, Bandmate. And the other one that a lot of people like is called Tonal Energy. So that's a cool one too. I think you have to pay for that one. Okay, I see a question from Pedro. What is vibrato? Okay, vibrato is when I'm gonna put my bass clarinet down. Excuse me. Vibrato you use on certain instruments, like saxophone. Vibrato is when basically a person on an instrument imitates the sound of a human voice. So if you hear a professional singer, when they sing a note, they usually don't just sing a straight tone. There's a little wavering on the note to make it sound prettier, a little vibrato. You're a professional singer. So that's what we do on our instruments. Saxophone does it. I'll play the note I sang. That was a concert F. What I do to make vibrato on saxophone is I move my bottom lip and my jaw up and down on the into the reed. Make a little wavering in the sound. Vibrato. On that's the same way you do it on clarinet if you're playing jazz clarinet. On the flute, we use a pulsation of our air usually, like you're saying hoo 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 hoo. Your air kind of goes a little bit more and a little bit less. That's vibrato on the flute, okay? And I saw a quick question. Someone wanted to know how to play. I'm getting a lot of individual note questions, and I will try to answer a bunch of them. One of them was how to play an E. How to play an E on the flute. E is thumb. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And you put your pinky on the E flat key, even though you're not playing E flat. So that's an E. And an E flat, you just put down your third finger. And you lift up your first finger. So that's how we do E flat. Okay. M. Bacamante, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. How do you stop playing a C on the clarinet when you're supposed to be playing G? Okay, so that question is because the fingering of clarinet, of the lower register of the clarinet, can be a little confusing. If you learn on flute or saxophone, flute and saxophone are exactly the same. B, A, G, right? On clarinet, it's a little bit extra added layer because in your upper register with the register key, it's B, A, G. But if you take your register key off, this actually becomes E, D, C. So that gets a little confusing. My only advice is basically you just have to keep practicing if you're getting mixed up. And just remember E, D, C without the register key on, B, A, G. Okay, a lot of great questions here today, guys. Jacob or Jacobo Isaac, do I have any advice for 7th grade band for alto saxophone? Well, my main advice for saxophone, it's hard for me to give really great advice for you because I don't know what you're struggling with. If you have a specific question, I can answer that. My general advice is to, when you practice every day, to set small goals for yourself. In 7th grade, you should be getting into learning your scales, like your G major scale, your C major scale, your D major scale. You should at least have those 3 scales and starting to expand. So there's a little bit of advice for you, Jacobo or Jacob. Okay, Hossein Iranshani. Oh, I'm sorry, Iranshahi. My body becomes tired after playing alto sax for barely 20 minutes. What should I do? So, do you mean, Hossein, I'm trying to understand how you get tired. Do you mean your lips get tired? Does this get tired? Because that's normal. That is just your muscles need to get practice of playing your instrument. It's like lifting weights. When you lift weights, you get tired and then you add more weight and the next day you get tired again. So my advice for that, I'm assuming maybe you mean your lips get tired. Just when your lips get really tired, you take a break and do a little bit more later or do more the next day. And eventually it should get better. Sean, actually a couple people have asked, how many days of band camp do I recommend? Oh, Hossein says his stomach and his hands as well. I'll get back to you on that. How many days of band camp? I did, with my high school, we did 5 days of all-day band camp last year, but this year I added 4 more days. So we had a total of 9 days of band camp. Most schools do 1 week, some schools do 2 weeks. So it depends on your director. For our school, I prefer what we did this year. So Hussein says it's his stomach and his hands as well that get tired. So your stomach should not, I can understand maybe your hands getting tired from if you're not used to putting them in a certain way. You should not have a lot of tension in your stomach when you play. You should take deep breaths and you should use your muscles to play, but it should not be tense. So try relaxing a little bit in your stomach muscles, and I hope that helps you, okay? Some more questions coming through. Oh, Mike was here. Mike Hamilton was here early in the stream, and he asked again, do I have any exercises to practice high C or high D on the sax? So, Mike, if you could tell me what kind of problems you're having with your high C and your high D. Are they not coming out at all? Are they out of tune? So tell me what the problem is. Are they not coming out at all, or are they out of tune? Talented Joey is saying, what's the best way to make a clarinet reed last longer? I would say take the clarinet off the mouthpiece every time you play and clean the mouthpiece and always put it away, and that helps the reed last longer. Mike says he struggles with the fingers so out of tune. Okay, out of tune, what I would recommend for out of tune high notes is, here's one recommendation. A lot of sax players, when they first start learning high notes, think that you have to bite or go tighter for high notes, and you really don't. So get a tuner and let's take our C here with no octave key. O-shaped embouchure, good embouchure, nice strong note, and then simply tap your octave key and don't do anything with your lips differently, and see if you can make the note just be in tune in the high octave too. And go back and forth like this, and try to get your embouchure set to the point where your note won't get stuck in the high note. It'll just go back and forth with the octave key. And hopefully that will be a help. So that's one good exercise, is to do the quick octaves up and down without moving your embouchure. Okay, Onyeka is asking, how do you play E flat, D sharp on the tenor sax? Easy. Okay, I don't have my tenor sax, but it's the same on alto sax. You ready? Here's the answer for D sharp, E flat. You have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you press this key right here with your right hand pinky. Okay? So that's the fingering question that we had for Onyeka. D sharp, E flat. Okay. Dennis is telling us, Pedro Carrero, what is the difference between wooden piccolos and metal piccolos? Basically, I think a lot of professionals prefer, bye Onyeka, thank you for being here. A lot of professionals prefer wooden piccolos because maybe the tone quality is better. Plastic piccolos are usually cheaper, but they're still fine to use, especially if you're in a marching band and you're going to be outside a lot. Or if you're just learning piccolo and you don't have a lot of money to spend, it's fine to not have a wooden piccolo. But usually when you want to get to upgrade and do professional level, you'd want to get a wooden piccolo. So there's the answer for that. Animation Master, should I put my flute cleaner in my flute and keep it in there when I'm not using it? I don't recommend that. Because if you get moisture, if you have one of those fluffy things that goes inside, like the Q-tip looking things that goes inside your flute, if they get moisture on them and then you leave it in your flute, that moisture sits against the pads of your flute, and that can actually cause damage. So you swab out your flute and then you leave the swab folded up or on the side. Okay? Okay, so Mamad is asking, how much should I use my stomach muscles when I play the saxophone? I feel like I'm not putting enough air into the horn. So I wouldn't necessarily think about using your stomach muscles, because if someone says use your stomach muscles, you usually would flex up like you're doing like someone was going to push on your stomach and you flex up. I don't use my stomach muscles that way. I don't think anyone really does. What you would imagine is how hard would you blow if I had a piece of paper. Here we go. If I had a piece of paper and I told you to blow and hold the piece of paper against the wall, that's the kind of air you should use. Or just how much would you use, how much air would you use just to blow and hold the paper up? That's as much air as I use for the saxophone. You don't need to use much more, okay? All right. Joy Nguyen is asking, how much does a baritone sax cost or rent? A baritone sax to buy ranges from you could probably get an inexpensive one for about $4,000, upwards of a professional baritone saxophone up to like $10,000. They get very expensive. To rent one would probably cost, I'm going to guess, about $100 to $200 a month. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm trying to get as many of your questions in here as I can. Emojin is asking me to play something. What would you like me to play? Give me a request, and if I see something I know, I'll play it. Okay? And Emojin also asked, what time is it? It is 6:22 here in Pennsylvania in the United States. I get a lot of requests now for songs. Iron Man, Christopher. Oh, Christopher, I saw you request this earlier. So, Iron Man, we play this in sometimes in marching band to cheer on the football team. There's Iron Man. Someone asked for, Joy asked for Megalovania. Joy, what instrument do you want me to play it on? That's Megalovania. Bass clarinet? Joy? All right, I'll play some bass clarinet. Ugh. Dennis, how are you doing? Are there any questions that I should have?
You've got a couple of questions that are dealing with posture in the marching band. Says for Jacobo Isaac says, how to get a good posture for alto sax, marching band, or any advice for marching band? Evidently, the postures, they need some instruction on that.
Okay. All right, first I'll play Megalovania on the bass clarinet. How does this go? So that's basically based on an A minor blues scale. My low C sharp isn't working. So I borrowed a bass clarinet from my high school, and I think I need to get the low notes fixed because the low C sharp is not, or the low F sharp is not working. So posture in marching band. We work on this a lot with our high school kids. So the big thing with marching is you want to keep your upper body. Imagine like you have a string coming all the way through your spine, holding your head up and straight. And when you march, one thing that our students sometimes struggle with is when you look at your marching band members marching across the field, you shouldn't see their hats or their upper body kind of bouncing along. What you want to do is you want to roll your feet in a smooth motion as you march, so your upper body looks like it's just floating across the field. So you don't see people walking like this. You should see this when they walk, where you really roll your feet for a smooth, it looks much smoother to the audience. So that's a little help for your marching and your posture. Okay, let's see. Is it hard to switch? Sunbeam is asking me, is it hard to switch instruments in high school? Well, it depends what you want to switch to. Some instruments are easier switches than others. Like switching, or if you play clarinet and you want to add in saxophone, play both. That's pretty easy to do. If you play trumpet and you want to switch to French horn or euphonium or even tuba, that's not too hard to do because you're basically doing the same thing here. Depends on what you want to switch to. If you want to switch from two sort of pretty unrelated instruments, like if you want to switch from, I don't know, flute to trumpet, that would be a big switch because the fingers are different and the mouth is different. But if you practice, you can do anything is the answer. Kaylee is asking, what do you do when your clarinet won't make a sound? So when clarinet players, grab my clarinet, when clarinet players have trouble making a sound, okay, Maddie, just in time. Maddie, I'm playing my clarinet. Yes, Lath, I brought my clarinet just for you this week. If you're not making a sound in your clarinet, it's probably your reed. Check your reed. A lot of times when people don't get sound, the question you want to ask is, are you hearing any air sound like this? And if you hear air sound, it kind of just means probably you're not blowing hard enough. If you hear no air or no anything at all, that means your reed is closing off when you blow. See? It means you are biting too hard. So try taking a little bit more mouthpiece and not biting as hard. You have to let the air flow. So hopefully that answers your question. Mike, I wanted to get to your question about how to make quiet notes on the saxophone. I know it looks like Polly answered it too. The answer I always give for playing soft notes on the saxophone or any instrument, and I'll do it on clarinet, it's the same. The way I describe it is it feels like you're holding your breath. I wouldn't necessarily say slower air because you still want to support, but I would say it feels like you're holding your breath. So take a deep breath and then blow, but don't let it all out like you're holding your breath. So I play a loud note and then I start to hold my breath. And then see how much you can hold your breath while still making a sound. I hope that makes sense. And Lath is asking, can I make videos on the bass clarinet? Yes, and I will make a video just for you. Give me a request of what you would like me to do for bass clarinet. Okay? Give me a request and I will see if I can get that done pretty soon. Sophia wants to know, what do I do if I need to learn a hard piece out of my comfort area in about a month for auditions? Well, Sophia, I would say the best way to approach a piece of music that is maybe a little bit scary, maybe it looks a lot harder than what you're used to doing. Oh, okay, Lath, I can do that. Lath wants the Avengers theme on bass clarinet. So, Sophia, I just had a clarinet student who was working on an audition piece that was a couple steps higher than this student was quite ready for. So what you do is you break it down, you take the piece of music and just focus on 4 measures that you think you can achieve and work on those. And then go to another 4 measures and work on those. And you got to break it up bit by bit. You can't just start at the beginning and go to the end. You have to break it down into small pieces. And then if you have a music teacher, Sophia, I don't know if you have a music teacher at school or someone you can ask for help. that's also something you can do. So good luck with that, and let me know how it goes. Okay. Oh, Tofili has asked a few times, what kind of step-up clarinet should you rent, or are you going to be renting or buying? It looks like Tofili you're going to be renting. I actually had a student. I have a lot of student stories this week. Just yesterday, I had a student go to a music store in Washington, D.C. to try out a bunch of step-up clarinets. So I think what you want to look for is the most common ones are the Buffet, B-U-F-F-E-T, E11, and the E12. I think that's a little bit step up. Also, Yamaha has a nice intermediate clarinet. So those would be two of the big ones that I would recommend. Okay, Dennis, I know you're
Yes.
you're highlighting some good questions, but is there one I've missed?
Yeah, there's one where she's asking about her. Let me go back and find it. I have it. And I felt badly because we just kind of missed on her.
So go ahead.
No, it has to do with her cleaner. We don't bring our cases. It's Allie Taylor. We don't bring our cases to the stands because it takes up room. But here it's where should I put my flute cleaner when I'm not using it?
Where should you put your flute cleaner when you're not using it? Well, it depends on how big it is. If it's oh, hello, Endmost. So where would you put it? It depends if it's like, is it one of those big puffy ones, or is it like a fold up, cloth? So if it doesn't fit in your case, I would find a place to try to store it in your case. And if it doesn't store in your case, sometimes you can buy little pouches for your flute with like a shoulder strap, and they might have pockets on the side. That's what I usually see that works. So, Endmost is checking in and says that your clarinet teacher knows me. Yes, I do know your clarinet teacher, so please tell her I said hello. Let's see here. Oh, Kaylee says she puts hers in her backpack. And Lath is requesting Star Wars on bass clarinet. So let me do that. I have my bass clarinet today, so I'm going to do some extra bass clarinet for you. Let's see. There's a little bit of Star Wars for you on bass clarinet. Okay, Mamad is asking, I played saxophone for 3 years and I want to switch to G clarinet, Turkish clarinet. I've actually never heard of a Turkish clarinet. Is it going to be tough? I really like Turkish music, and Husnu, which I'm not sure what that is. But so Mamad, my recommendation for you is actually, I don't think it'll be too hard. I don't know a lot about the Turkish clarinet, but I do know that saxophone and clarinet have very similar embouchures. The big difference between saxophone and clarinet, let me tell you this. When you play saxophone, the mouthpiece should pretty much come straight out of your mouth like this. But when you play clarinet, the mouthpiece should be on a downward angle like this. See the difference? So saxophone, clarinet is like this. So that's one thing that you should, pay attention to. So I hope that helps. Let's see here. Allison is asking, why don't I show notes anymore? So I used to put the letter notes on the screen. And what I do now is I usually will include sheet music. So I know some people out there prefer the letter notes, but it's also good to have. So usually if I do sheet music, I won't do both. I won't give you sheet music and write out the letters. But if you really need that on a particular song, let me know and I can try to help you out with that. So Hannah is wondering if she should put cork grease on the neck of her bass clarinet. Highest notes that you're able to play on the bass as well. Okay, so this is the neck of the bass clarinet. I would not put cork grease on this because if you put cork grease on the metal, it can get way too slippery and then it won't stay. If your neck is not going in smoothly, take some cloth, ask your band director or someone to help you. You can actually use like some cleaning product, like some rubbing alcohol, and clean this off real good, and also clean the receiver really well, okay? That should help. I wouldn't use cork grease. Now, high notes on the bass clarinet. High notes on the bass clarinet are actually something that I struggle with myself. A lot of times, like I said, as you get higher on the bass clarinet, you have to really change your voicing or the shape of your tongue inside your mouth. So a bass clarinet can go just as high as a regular clarinet, but down in a lower octave. So you have your C major scale. Whoa. And as you get higher, so getting up to that high C, I'm really working on that, getting my voicing right to get the high notes on the bass clarinet. So the fingerings are pretty much the same. It's just working on the shape of your mouth, the inside of your mouth. Okay. Allie Taylor for marching band. When it rains at a football game, how do I keep my clarinet from getting wet? Oh, perfect. Because Kaylee is asking, should you use water to clean the clarinet? No, you absolutely should never use water to clean your clarinet. Your mouthpiece, yes. Never your clarinet. Never, ever, ever use water on your clarinet. And the reason that kind of fits in with Allie's question is because Allie was asking, in marching band, when you bring your flutes or your clarinets or your saxophones outside to do your show, if it starts to rain, you really want to get your instrument under cover as soon as possible. If your clarinet or your flute or your saxophone gets wet, it won't like destroy it right away, but what it does is if you let it sit, it breaks down the pads and it can damage the pads of your instrument, and then that is a repair you need to get. So what you would do is you would dry it off as much as possible with a dry towel, and make sure you let it air dry before you put it away in the case. There's my recommendation. Hannah is asking, is LeBlanc a good brand? Yes, LeBlanc is a great brand of clarinet. And I think Laith asked me what kind of bass clarinet I have. This is a Selmer 1430P, which is a very common student model. So, folks, we are actually getting close to the end. We're actually overtime here, but I'm going to answer a few more questions. Thank you guys so much for being here. Whether you guys are beginners or you've been playing for a number of years, I appreciate you being here. Let your friends know that I'm here on the live stream every Sunday to answer your questions. So if I didn't get your question this week, I will try to get it next week. I hope I get your question next week if I didn't get it this week. Dennis, I know you've been highlighting questions. Got another one for me?
Yeah, no Underwood wants to know, do you think it would be possible to switch from euphonium to bassoon?
Oh, Noah Underwood wants to know about switching from euphonium to bassoon. Well, I think if you're the kind of person who really wants to switch and you're dedicated and you practice, you absolutely can make the switch. That's an example of two instruments that are not very closely related, except for they play in a similar range, but they're different in a lot of ways. The mouthpiece is different, embouchure is different, the fingerings are different, and the clef is different. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, euphonium and bassoon are both bass clef. You're fine there. So at least the clef is the same. You'll be reading the same types of notes, which is good. So I think it's fine as long as your band director is okay with it. I'm sure every band director would love to have another bassoon, although we also love our euphoniums. So it depends on what your band director make sure you get your teacher's opinion. Let's see here. Abraham is asking, how many saxophones do I have? I have I have a soprano, I have 2 altos, I have 2 tenors. So I have I have 5 saxophones. I have more than I need, but that's what I have. So, all right, folks. So you know what I would love to do now, as I usually do, is first of all encourage you guys to come back next week on the live stream. Keep an eye on my channel for my new videos and my live streams every Sunday. But what I also like to do is do a shout out. If you guys could check in and let me know where you're watching from, and I will give you a shout out. Sometimes these come really fast. I can't do all the shout outs, but I will do as many as I can. So thank you, Talented Joey, for checking in. Tornado is in West Virginia. Darkface is in Florida. Michael is in New York. Hannah is in Florida. I hope you guys are okay with that hurricane that's out there. Ariana is in Massachusetts. Pooley is in Florida as well. A lot of Florida people. Hello, folks. Speedy is in Florida. Lenoto is in Virginia. Jacobo is in Canada. Craftsman is in Phoenix, Arizona. Kaylee is in Utah. Lath is in Florida. A lot of Florida people. Abraham is in Georgia. Shout out to Georgia. Imogen is in London. Hello, London. I bet it's late at night there. A lot of folks in Florida. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah. Tofili is in Alaska. Hi, Tofili. Is this your first time on the chat? I don't know if I've seen you here before, but thank you for being here. And Most Mage is in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Kaylee. And Mike is in Scotland, of course. And it's almost midnight there. Yeah, thank you for staying up late for me. Thank you, Jacobo. I'm glad that you're inspired. Definitely, I'm happy to hear that. And Kara is in Texas, and Glendy is in Georgia. Samantha just joined. Sorry, Samantha, we're just wrapping up. But come next week, okay? Thank you, Dark Phase. And Unequal Rocket is in Georgia. And Enmost, yeah, tell Mrs. Mahovsky I said hello. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dennis.
Yep, thank you. It was fun.
All right. And I want to give a shout out to Noel, who's in Mississippi. The only one in Mississippi on this live stream. Noel, you have to get your friends to watch so we have more people from Mississippi on the stream, okay? And Eagle is in the Philippines. All right, guys. So remember, next week, if I didn't get your question, check in again. Hi, Libby. Check in again and ask me your questions. And everyone have a great week. Dennis, have a great week.
Okay, you too, Steve.
Okay. Bye, everybody. See you next time.